Hello, and welcome to today's episode of 219 Green Connect, where we explore topics about the environment and green living in Northwest Indiana. For past show archives, news, and upcoming events, you can check out our website at 219greenconnect.com or connect with us on Facebook or Twitter. Our ID on both Facebook and Twitter is 219 Green Connect. You can also subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. Today's show is made possible by my social media coach in Valparaiso, Indiana. My social media coach provides strategic coaching and support for small business and nonprofits who want to use social media to grow their business. I am your host, Kathy Sipple, and with me today I have Kassie Meeks. Kassie is the owner of Yoga Suka Shala in Valparaiso. Welcome, Kassie.
Thank you, Kathy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, very, very glad to have you. And we had an interesting conversation last week about, let's see, how can I rein this in to bridge why we ended up having a show today. But I think we were talking about flow, and we were talking about people's internal environments. I do a lot with people who are interested in doing good work for the environment, and we think of the environment as kind of external to ourselves. But we started thinking about, wouldn't it be interesting to, for one show at least, and hopefully more, address what's going on inside? How do we connect with our own nature's rhythms and, really look at being good stewards of our internal environment? So you suggested today's topic, which is, I'm going to let you say it.
The breath is what came to mind first for me. And this is the case on so many different levels. And I have been so excited thinking about it since you mentioned it, Kathy, because beginning with that topic of environment and internal environment, when we think about breath, we are literally taking in the environment, everything that we would talk about in relation to the external environment, we are taking in and then breathing out. So for our internal environment, one of the greatest things that we can do for our health, the first steps towards restoring the body to health, is inhaling and exhaling fully. We rarely do that during the day. If we begin to notice, our breath often is shallow, incomplete. But if we just take a moment, and this can be anytime, anywhere, and deeply receive completely on the inhale all this fresh oxygen, and then on the exhale, really breathe out all the way. When we exhale completely like that, we're releasing toxins on every level: mental, emotional, physical, and environmental.
And I know when I take the time to breathe deeply, it almost feels like your internal organs are getting a little mini massage, because if you really inhale deeply in your diaphragm, I don't know all the medical of what's going on, but is there anything to that idea? Am I imagining that, or is that good
Yes.
for internal?
Oh.
Okay.
You are exactly right, because when we're not breathing completely, it's often just abdominal and in the belly. And so our heart, our lungs don't get the benefit of the internal massage, which, as you feel, that is exactly what's happening when we breathe completely. And so it keeps that elasticity. It keeps that health for the internal organs. And in addition to releasing all those toxins with the full exhales and receiving all this fresh oxygen with the inhales, it really does create an internal environment that benefits our health in so many ways.
Yeah, and you need oxygen to complete many of the body's vital functions, right? So if you can breathe more deeply, you probably can do that much better.
Yes, and here's a very interesting thing. Toxins tend to be stored in areas where there's only a small amount of oxygen. These are kind of stale areas, dead areas, and that's often around the joint or in fat tissue. And that, in those areas, the oxygen tends not to reach, and then the toxins are getting stored there, so they're not released with full exhale, even we're not breathing completely. And that is the number one cause of chronic disease. So when we take the time, even if, again, it's just a little bit at a time, and breathe completely, really bring our attention to our breath, and exhale all the way out, and inhale fully, then we're reaching into those areas that have been stale or dead before, and we're opening it up. And now there starts to be that flow of the toxins released, the oxygen coming into those formerly dead, stale areas. And we experience it. We feel it as being enlivened, invigorated, greater vitality. And this is all from the breath.
I'm feeling better already just since we've been on the phone. I feel like, I don't have high blood pressure or anything like that, but I just feel so soothed when you're telling me to concentrate on breath. It's just a great reminder to do that. And, do you think that's a big part of what people, find when they get into yoga? How much of yoga that you practice is about breathing? How big a part is that in the benefits?
Oh, it is huge. And sometimes I will get, often, I get people in the classes at the Shala, and they'll experience class with me, and then they'll say that they've never had as much focus on the breath as what they just experienced in class with me. And I just think, the poses are beneficial. They are for so many reasons, and they're just fun and they're wonderful, and I love the poses. But without the breath, I wonder what would have been experienced. That seems foreign to me, because when we begin in our classes, whether it's the yoga fundamentals or the empowering yoga, and we have a teacher I'm very excited about coming on board teaching yin yoga, yin and yang yoga, and she does this also, that our first, where we turn when we come in, is bringing our attention to the breath. And once we connect and really check in that we're completing every exhale, completing every inhale, we begin to notice right away that the breath moves us, quite literally. So as we are exhaling completely, and I invite everybody to try this right now, wherever you are, you can have your eyes open. Nobody even needs to know that you're doing it. It's beautiful. So as you exhale and you just keep exhaling, you notice that your rib cage is coming in towards your spine, that you experience physically. There's that complete letting go, release. And then as you inhale, experience that your rib cage is expanding and you're filling up, and you feel that movement of your body. And once we experience that as the first thing that we do when we come into our yoga class, then we allow the poses, the asanas, to become an extension of that, so that over time with practice, we begin to experience the breath moving us. It becomes so freeing and effortless, and it's like a dance with life. In yoga, when we're doing breath work, it's called pranayama. And the first part of that prana is life energy, sometimes thought of as the internal breath. And it is what sustains our life. It is life. And so as we bring our first attention to the breath, and we allow the movement to ride on the waves of the breath, it's like we're being carried along by the wind, and it's this dance with life, prana, that life force. So even people who think they can't dance, experience that they can, and it's freeing and beautiful.
Wow, I love that. A dance with life. That is a very beautiful image that I'll be having in my head all day, I'm sure. And that is great. Again, I just feel soothed listening to you talk about this, and I am kind of following along, trying to mind that I am the host of a podcast today and not a yoga participant. But you do an awfully nice job of setting the tone during a yoga class. And let's just tell people who are in the local Valparaiso, Indiana area a little bit about how they can find out about your class schedule and if they wanted to come in and, experience a class like this. I mean, let's start with your website.
It is valpoyoga.com.
Okay. And the name, let's talk about the name of your studio, too, because I think that's such a beautiful name and it's a bit unusual. Valpo Yoga will get you there to your www online presence, but I think you have the domain also, Yoga Suka Shala, is that correct?
Correct, yes. And Valpo Yoga actually forwards to yogasukashala.com.
Okay. Can you say?
But Valpo Yoga is easier to spell.
Yeah, it's a little easier to spell. But can you tell us the name and the meaning behind your yoga studio?
Yes, I'd be delighted. Yoga is not a religion. It is a science. It is a complete science of transformation. And it leads us into greater and greater, deeper and deeper joy and freedom. These are the hallmarks that yoga opens us to. So all our practices, whether it's the breath, and that can even be just sitting, so that's a practice in and of itself, or the poses, the asanas, or meditation, and then there are other practices too. But all the practices under this umbrella of yoga, all its many branches, lead us into greater and greater joy and freedom. So it's a complete science of transformation. Sukha is ease, comfortable. It has a connotation of happiness. And we experience that as we deepen into the various practices as well. And one of the first ways that we often experience it is in our poses, the asanas, because as with the breath, the easiest way often to experience these things at first is on the physical level because it's the most obvious. So in every pose, we are creating a balance of sukha, that's comfortable ease and happiness, and also sthira. So these are Sanskrit words. And sthira is steadiness, firmness, strength. So we are coming into greater and greater balance. But with sukha, that's when I was thinking of the name. My vision and intention for students coming into the Shala is to be able to experience greater and greater ease within themselves, with life, with others. So that's why Sukha is in the name. It's very close to my heart. And then Shala is the name for a physical place devoted to a highly noble pursuit. That's
beautiful. That's very, very beautiful. I think that's such an intentionally chosen name, and it suits you well. And I do want to give a little shout out for your physical place, and we'll tell people in a minute how they can connect with you if they don't happen to be in Valparaiso, but they like what you're saying. You're in a bit of an out-of-the-way location. It's not awfully far from downtown Valparaiso, but let's tell people kind of where you are and your address. You're near Valparaiso University somewhat.
Yes, very. Just around the corner from the law school. And it is very easy to find once we know that it's there, but it is on a street that I would not know exists if we weren't on it. So Don Hovey Drive runs parallel to Highway 30. It's just about a city block in length altogether. So it's just this very short street. And most people take 30. So, Don Hovey Drive is not very much traversed. But I do like that. Once people find it, I like that it is where it is because it's very well suited for people to step into peace and calm. And I do often have students tell me that as soon as they walk in the doors, they just feel better already. And I love that.
Yeah, well, I have to say, I mean, the outside of the building is perfectly nice looking. I had been in that building when it was under, previous use, but nothing prepared me for the interior. There's just this natural wood that opens up to the rafters, and it's just a beautiful, I don't know what kind of wood it is, but it's kind of a light, and it almost feels like you're in some sacred temple. I mean, that's the feeling that I got. It just definitely felt soothing in the very minute that I looked, into the space itself. And you've done a really nice job, again, creating a great atmosphere there. And
Thank you.
And I just learned, or we talked a bit more on Friday, that you actually do coaching, personal coaching for clients that are not necessarily local. You said that you work with clients as far away as, was it Nairobi? Or tell me,
Yeah.
I know it was far.
Yeah.
You're worldwide.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what kind of work do you do with those types of clients?
I do work with clients from all around the world, and I am a wellness, career, relationships, creativity, just all around living your best life coach. And I work with a variety of modalities and really suit it to each individual client, depending on the client's specific disposition and unique aims. So the tools that we use can be anything from inquiry excavation to yoga and QiGong, definitely, to identity matrix, among other approaches and methodologies. And I have clients telling me that they are experiencing, as a result of their work with me, greater joy and freedom and prosperity and connection and health than they could even have imagined possible before. So I feel very, very blessed, and I love getting to be a part of people's journeys and seeing them thrive.
Well, that's great. And the thing that strikes me as, maybe one commonality throughout all of those different tools is that they're all natural and they're all very empowering. You're kind of unleashing people's inner power. And I didn't hear you say I write prescriptions or I do this or that. It's really helping people connect to their natural state of optimal health.
Yes.
Would that be one way?
And it is, yes. I love the way that you put things, Kathy.
Well, good, because I know that you're
really
very intentional about your language, so if I can hit the right understanding, I'm very happy. No, but yeah, please tell me a little bit about that. Like, what brought you to this line of work, and, is there kind of a natural component to it, or, just, I guess, what makes you tick, and what brought you into that role?
The work that I do with clients and with students in yoga classes and violin students too, I have that component of things. It is all very interactive. As you picked up on, I'm very passionate about aligning people, and everything that every single person needs in order to live fully alive and healthy and vibrant, full of joy and freedom is already there. Every person already has it. It's a matter of strengthening a person's passion and desire on their own behalf. And also, the other part of it is removing the obstacles, just clearing that away, and letting them be free to shine. So it's a little bit different, in a way, prescription for each person, but it's not prescriptions for pills, but I do, in each session that I do with coaching, I make sure that my client goes with specific action steps. And so it's very living into and acting in such a way that my clients are becoming their own best advocates. And as they do, it's a process and it's a practice, and it's just greater and greater opening and connecting with their internal light. So it also is very connected to this topic of breath, because as we let go, we experience with the breath that we've been doing that our entire life, but we don't always think about that or notice that. So sometimes as we go through life, and especially in our adult years, there get to be things that for many of us it's very difficult to let go. But if we become aware of our breath doing that, and it is for every single one of us, otherwise we could be living. So with the exhales, if we allow our breath to instruct us, to assist us, to support us, and we just begin to discover that we're natural releasers when we allow that process to unfold. And the more we surrender and allow and let go, the more we're able to flow. The greater health we have, the greater vitality, the more we're free, the more energy we experience. And the more we experience victory throughout our lives and celebration and joy. And this is something, too, that I find is often confusing. I know for me it used to be that way as well, an idea that to surrender or let go or to be in flow is somehow weak. But as we step into this practice, we begin to experience that that's far from the case. It's quite the opposite. And we could even think of how powerful flowing rivers are. Seeming obstacles do not stop them. They just go around or past. And flow is powerful. It opens us to creativity. It brings us in harmony with what is, rather than being stopped by anything that isn't like how we thought it would be or how we want it to be. And we all can think of times in our lives when we're going along quite merrily and we have an idea of where we're headed, what we're creating, what we're about. And then something comes up that is not in line with what we foresaw, not what we want. And sometimes we've gotten stopped right there. And then sometime later we look back and we think, what happened to that dream, that desire? And how did I just let myself get stopped? And as we learn flow, when those things come up, we're able to really be present to them as they are, including letting go of our ideas, interpretations, and just able directly to see it for what it is. And rather than beating our head against the wall or whatever the obstacle is, which is exhausting, we are able to keep going.
Well, I love that analogy. And I do want to come back, too, to the word that you used with victorious, because the name of this type of breathing, I'm not sure that we mentioned it yet on the show, but can you please say the Sanskrit word for the type of breathing that means victorious breath?
Ujjayi.
Ujjayi.
Is the Sanskrit word, means victorious.
Okay.
Yes.
And you said that that's called ocean breath because of the sound as well?
Yes, exactly. We create it by constriction of the glottis muscle at the back of the throat, and that literally creates a more narrow straw, a more narrow passage for the breath to flow through. This helps us to lengthen the breath, which helps us to deepen into our experience. and it helps us to slow down and complete the breath. And I do love the fact that it creates this ocean sound because for me, going to the ocean, the beach, the Great Lake, and hearing the sound of the waves is so refreshing, and it just brings us into presence with this rhythmic cycle, which is so healthy. So even when we cannot get to the beach or the ocean, Great Lake, when we create this breath, I have found that gives that same experience. So we can take a mini vacation anytime, anywhere by practicing Ujjayi breath.
Well, I love that because, in these times, it just seems like people are a little challenged and more people are voting for staycations rather than, going to some tropical paradise. But this is the ultimate staycation. You can stay right at your desk at the office and get one of these in, throughout the day. Or I would imagine doing this, is there any time it's not recommended to do? Like, I don't know, before or something? Would that be relaxing or would that stimulate?
That's a great question. And Ujjayi often is categorized as an energizing breath. It is very balancing, though. I find that each person's disposition and makeup is unique. So with anything and everything, it really is this direct experience. And I'm always interested and curious and eager to hear about people's experiences. So for some, there definitely are times that it would be more energizing when they're not wanting to energize, such as before they want to sleep.
Before sleep, yeah.
Yeah. And
like
for others, it brings calm also, so it works well then too. It's just individuals are unique, and I really respect that.
Well, it's definitely worth a try, it sounds like, and hopefully some people will be able to come in and check out your yoga classes, which again, if you're just joining us, my guest today is Kassie Meeks, and she is owner of Yoga Suka Shala in Valparaiso, right near Valparaiso University. You can find out more about her hours of operation, her class schedule, and also her private coaching that she does. She can do that remotely or for local people. And tell them once again, Kassie, your website.
valpoyoga.com for the yoga information. And I also have KassieMeeks.com, KassieMeeks. And there is a free audio introduction and invitation to coaching with me that's accessible there.
Great. And I should say, too, that you are on Facebook. So do you want to give a shout-out for how people can find you on Facebook?
Yes, it's facebook.com/Yoga Suka Shala. But you also can link to that when you go to valpoyoga.com.
Good. Well, that's great. I really want to thank you for sharing what has been a very soothing 30 minutes. And I have a feeling that we need to have you back here and doing more of this very soothing talk. I'm sure all the people within the listening audience in Northwest Indiana would benefit, as well as whoever might be listening, via podcast. So thank you once again. You are just such a treasure that we have right here in our area. So if you are just joining us, this has been another episode of 219 Green Connect. This has been your host, Kathy Sipple, with Kassie Meeks. So I want to thank you again, Kassie, and the show will be available via iTunes within just minutes after we finish. So if you'd like to share this with somebody, please do go on to the website, 219greenconnect.com, and you can share the show right from there. Thanks, Kassie, and have a great day. I'm going to do some deep breathing.
Thank you so much, Kathy.
Thank you.